You wake up tired. Not just physically tired, mentally tired, emotionally tired, existentially tired. The alarm rings. You check your phone. You scroll through people smiling, traveling, succeeding, building businesses, getting married, buying houses, achieving things. And then you look at your own life. The same room, the same worries, the same pressure, the same uncertainty. Every day feels strangely repetitive. You work, you try, you push yourself, you tell yourself things will eventually improve. But somehow, life still feels stuck. And after a while, something dangerous begins to happen. You stop blaming the world and start blaming yourself. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I'm not disciplined enough. Maybe I wasted my potential. Maybe everybody else understands life better than I do. But what if that feeling isn't actually personal? What if millions of people feel the exact same way? What if this isn't an individual failure, but a systemic experience? Because the truth is, there are entire economic, cultural, and psychological systems shaping how you think, how you work, how you compare yourself to others, and even how you measure your own worth. And once you begin to see those systems, life starts making a lot more sense. Look around carefully. People today are more connected than ever before. We have smartphones, artificial intelligence, unlimited information, online courses, self-help content, motivational speakers, career coaches, productivity systems. And yet, despite all of this, people are deeply anxious. Depression is rising. Burnout is rising. Loneliness is rising. Attention spans are collapsing. Even people who look successful often admit they feel empty. That should make us pause. Because according to the promises we were given, this was supposed to be the best time in human history. We were told, study hard, work hard, stay focused, stay disciplined, and eventually life will reward you. But for many people, that reward never arrives. Instead, life becomes a constant cycle of survival. Wake up, work, stress, sleep, repeat. And what makes this even more painful is that everybody pretends this is normal. People laugh through exhaustion. They joke about burnout. They normalize anxiety. They celebrate overwork. Being tired has become a personality trait. And slowly, without realizing it, people start accepting a life that feels emotionally disconnected. You begin to feel like a machine. A productive machine, a consuming machine, a scrolling machine, but not a fulfilled human being. And this feeling is not random. There are reasons behind it. For decades, society sold people a very specific dream. The dream looked simple. Go to school, get educated, find a stable job, work honestly, buy a house, build a family, live comfortably. For earlier generations, this path often worked. One salary could support an entire household. People could buy homes in their 20s. Jobs felt stable. The future felt predictable. But something changed. Today, millions of educated people are struggling. University graduates work low-paying jobs. Highly skilled workers live paycheck to paycheck. Young people delay marriage because they cannot afford stability. And despite working harder than previous generations, many people feel economically weaker. So naturally, people ask, what happened? Why does life feel harder even though technology improved? Why does progress feel exhausting instead of liberating? Why are people constantly overwhelmed? And the answer is uncomfortable. Because modern society increasingly shifted responsibility away from systems and placed it entirely onto individuals. If you fail, it's your fault. If you struggle, you didn't hustle hard enough. If you're unhappy, you lack discipline. Notice how convenient that narrative is. It prevents people from questioning larger structures. Instead of asking, why are housing prices impossible? Why are wages stagnant? Why is life becoming emotionally unstable? People turn inward and say, I need to optimize myself more. And this creates a permanent psychological trap. Because no matter how much you improve yourself, the system keeps moving the goalpost. One of the biggest reasons people feel stuck today is comparison. Human beings have always compared themselves to others, but social media transformed comparison into a non-stop psychological assault. Every day you consume hundreds of images: perfect bodies, perfect vacations, perfect relationships, perfect careers, perfect lifestyles. Even when you consciously know those images are curated, your brain still absorbs them emotionally, and slowly your ordinary life begins to feel inadequate. You start feeling late, behind, inferior, unsuccessful, even when objectively you may be doing fine. This creates a dangerous illusion that everybody else is progressing while you are standing still. But the reality is very different. Most people are struggling privately. Many people posting success online are anxious offline. Many people appearing confident feel deeply insecure. Many people showing luxury are drowning in debt. But social media removes context. You only see the highlights, not the loneliness, not the failures, not the confusion. And because humans naturally measure themselves socially, constant exposure to idealized lives creates permanent dissatisfaction. The result? You can never relax because somebody always seems richer, smarter, more attractive, more productive, more successful. And in a world where your value increasingly feels tied to achievement, comparison becomes emotionally exhausting. You stop living your own life and start performing for invisible audiences. Think carefully about how modern society operates. Everything moves fast. News moves fast. Trends move fast. Technology moves fast. Jobs change fast. Expectations change fast. People barely have time to emotionally process life anymore. And because everything feels competitive, rest itself starts feeling guilty. You sit down to relax, and suddenly your brain whispers, "You should be working. You should be improving yourself. You should be learning something. You should be building something." Even rest becomes stressful. This is one of the strangest psychological effects of modern culture. Human worth becomes linked to productivity. If you are productive, you feel valuable. If you slow down, you feel useless. But human beings were never designed to live under non-stop psychological pressure. People need silence, meaning, connection, reflection, purpose. Yet modern systems reward speed more than meaning. The faster you move, the more valuable you appear. And eventually, people begin treating themselves like machines. Optimize sleep, optimize work, optimize fitness, optimize attention, optimize networking, optimize emotions. Life becomes a self-improvement project instead of a lived experience. And ironically, the harder people chase fulfillment, the emptier they often become, because meaning cannot be manufactured through constant pressure. Another major reason people feel stuck is economic insecurity. Modern economies increasingly depend on instability: temporary contracts, gig work, freelancing, short-term employment, unpredictable income. Even highly educated professionals often feel uncertain about the future, and uncertainty changes human psychology. When people feel unstable, they become anxious, they become fearful, they become easier to control. Think about it. A person constantly worried about survival has less emotional energy to question deeper systems. They become trapped in immediate concerns: rent, bills, debt, food, career pressure, and slowly survival consumes identity. Many people no longer ask, "Who do I want to become?" Instead, they ask, "How do I survive another month?" This creates emotional numbness, and because society celebrates independence so aggressively, people feel ashamed admitting they're struggling. Everyone is expected to appear successful even when they are collapsing internally. And that loneliness intensifies the feeling of failure. You think, everybody else figured life out except me. But in reality, millions of people secretly feel the same confusion. One of the biggest myths modern society teaches is this: hard work always leads to success. Now, hard work absolutely matters. Discipline matters. Effort matters. Consistency matters. But the idea that effort alone determines outcomes is simply not true. If hard work alone created wealth, then millions of laborers would already be rich. The reality is more complicated. Success is influenced by opportunity, timing, connections, class, location, economic systems, social stability, luck. But modern culture rarely talks about those things, because if society admits systems matter, then people might begin questioning the fairness of those systems. So instead, society promotes hyper-individualism. Everything becomes personal responsibility. And this creates enormous psychological pressure. You begin treating every setback as personal failure. Rejected from a job? Your fault. Burned out? Your fault. Exhausted? Your fault. Falling behind financially? Your fault. Eventually, people internalize guilt for conditions they did not create. And that guilt slowly destroys confidence. Because when human beings believe they are failing constantly, they stop trusting themselves. There is another hidden crisis happening in modern life. A crisis of meaning. Many people today don't just feel financially stressed, they feel spiritually disconnected. Not necessarily religiously disconnected, but emotionally disconnected from purpose. People wake up, work jobs they don't care about, consume entertainment, scroll endlessly, sleep, repeat. And after years of repetition, a painful question emerges. What is all of this for? Human beings need meaning. Without meaning, even comfort feels empty. This is why many wealthy people still feel depressed, because material success alone cannot satisfy deeper emotional needs. People need belonging, community, identity, direction, love, purpose. But modern systems often reduce humans into economic units: consumers, workers, users, audiences, data. And when human beings are treated primarily as economic entities, they slowly lose emotional connection with themselves. This is why so many people feel emotionally numb, not because they are weak, but because modern life constantly fragments attention, relationships, identity, and meaning. So let's say this clearly. You are not broken because you feel exhausted. You are not weak because you feel overwhelmed. You are not failing because life feels unstable. In many ways, you are responding normally to an abnormal environment. A world filled with nonstop comparison, nonstop pressure, nonstop uncertainty, nonstop performance. Anyone exposed to that environment for years would feel psychologically drained. The problem is that modern culture trains people to blame themselves before questioning systems. And once you understand that, something important changes. You stop seeing yourself purely as a failure. You begin understanding the larger forces shaping modern life. That awareness matters, because awareness breaks psychological isolation. You realize, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. I'm not uniquely defective. Millions of people are silently experiencing the same emotional exhaustion. Now, this doesn't mean personal responsibility disappears. You still matter. Your choices still matter. Your habits still matter. But understanding systems helps you stop carrying unnecessary shame. And maybe that's where real change begins. Not with pretending the world is perfect, not with blaming yourself endlessly, but with seeing reality clearly. Because once you understand the forces shaping your life, you can begin making conscious decisions instead of unconsciously absorbing pressure. You can slow down, question expectations, protect your mental space, define success differently, reconnect with meaning. And perhaps most importantly, you stop measuring your worth purely through productivity. Because human beings are more than workers, more than consumers, more than statistics. And maybe the feeling you called failure was actually the beginning of awareness. And once you see the system clearly, you can never fully unsee it. The moment you stop blaming yourself for everything is the moment you begin understanding the world differently. This is Team the Lit Professor. Goodbye for now. See you very soon with a new topic. Like and subscribe for more.